all that amazing stuff behind you, Josh. I was very excited to have you on to finish out April's topic, which was, of course, state of the industry. And, you know, they talk a lot about our current situation and what people are going through. But I would also, you know, like you're a manufacturer who makes things in the United States. So I thought it'd be great to have you on. Thank you for making time.
I appreciate you inviting me. I'm always surprised that people want to talk to me.
All right, for folks who don't know, give the 30-second version of you, give the 30-second version of your company, and then let's jump into it.
My name's Josh. I'm a normal guy like everybody else. Just, I invented and manufactured a product that I thought would help make the gaming, you know, your gaming experience a little easier and faster so you can play more games. And I think I'm 4 years in it now and just trying to, you know, chugging my way through this and figuring it out as I go.
That's pretty amazing. You guys are based out of where?
We're in Massachusetts.
Hey! Okay. So PAX East is coming up. Do you have a booth for PAX East?
I do. Yep.
That's very exciting. So everybody can check out all these fantastic things. So Josh, you make things, and your your background is in like product design, or is it in like, where did you come from originally that you were like, I can make gaming or the gaming experience better?
So my background is I still do this. I design and build like weird stuff for companies and people. You know, if you want a huge cake that lights up, you know, I'm the guy that they call to do that. You know, props or whatever. So that's how I got started and got a lot of tools to be able to make things. And then I, as people probably know, I was invited to a board gaming day, and I saw something that I didn't like, and you know, I talked to my friends, and they encouraged me to make it, and I did, and then here I am.
That's amazing. Rosie the Cozy Board Gamer comes from a cake decorating and then cake to props for TV kind of like, and she does this amazing thing where she's like, hey, do you want to add to gaming? Just have one skill. If you have any skill that you have, like, for example, Uga Chaka is here. Uga Chaka is collecting like spooky memorabilia and painting things, and then apologizing for his general existence. Those are his 3 skills. Josh, what are your skills? Are you like a 3D designer? Are you a marketer? Are you like what is like? Are you a prop designer? Are you the one who makes these things for like high-end retail stores that are unusual? Like, what, like,
it's tough because I've done it all. Like everything you said, I've done. Like I've made props, I've made crazy chandeliers. I made a chandelier out of jeans for a jean store that was all vines and flowers. It was huge. It was really cool. You know, I've done just normal shelving and stuff for stores. I build all for the. I don't know if you're familiar with the New England Patriots, but I build all of their TV studios and their sets and their radio studios and stuff. And I've done simple things like I made a huge, pickleball paddle for HubSpot, so it's so crazy. Yeah. It's difficult to say when people ask me what I do. It's hard to answer because it's
custom manufacturing for one-off items. Is that a good way to say
that's mostly I started out building like restaurants and clubs, and I always tell people that I built atmosphere. So like when you went into a restaurant, I would do the nice like paintings or graphics on the walls and the speakers in the ceilings and the cameras and the TVs and like all the stuff that you like look at and what builds the atmosphere around you. And then I started getting into more specialty stuff because one of the restaurant owners, I don't know if her name was Tanya Nayak. She's still on TV. She does like the Great Christmas Light Fight and stuff. So she'd bring me on shows like Restaurant Impossible, and I'd build stuff for them. And that's sort of how I got into like the weird custom stuff. And then it just, like I don't advertise. The phone just rings and I just make stuff,
That's amazing. So
yeah.
You have been making environments that then produce atmospheres. Like an environment is the things around you, and the atmosphere is what you take in from it. That's fantastic, Josh. That is very, very cool. Like, I need a unique set for my TV show. I need a unique experience for my club. And it's all like word of mouth. Is like, business owners contacting other business owners. Do you know a guy? And that guy is you, Josh.
Yes, that's exactly how it works. It's, Tom told me that you're the guy. I need a big duck that like rides on a raft. You're like, can you make that? I'm like, sure. So that's how it started for sure.
So what kind of custom manufacturing equipment do you have in your own workshop, or do you find yourself working with other people who then like make these individual items?
No, I have everything's made here. I have all the machinery. So I have two 5 foot by 10 foot CNCs that cut out, like the cutouts, the dice thrown boards and stuff like you see here. Then I have a laser CNC that instead of using a router head, it uses a laser, and then I use that for like the logos and stuff on the backs of the trays. I also have a pad printing machine, which it's a machine that has like a silicone pad on. They use it for when you get a golf ball, it has like the logo on it, and because a golf ball is round and has like bumps in it, the pad like molds around the ball. So I have a machine that does the white logos like on the player ones and the Susans and stuff. And then I have a bunch of, I got table saws and, sanders that we use to sand off, the tabs. You flush around the tabs. There's a lot of hand work. Once it comes out the machine, it doesn't just go right in a box. Like, no. Once it comes out the machine, like tabs have to get flush trimmed off, and then all the edges have to get rounded over. So we have a router table, so that's all done by hand. And then all the edges are sanded, and then they go into the laser, which there's a template that, holds probably, I think it's like 30 trays. But then the laser puts the logos on, those come off, and then all the backs get sanded. So it's nice and like, it's real smooth to the touch. And then we just stack all the trays. And then when I get an order, I just pull them all and place them all in the Susans the bases get screwed on. So that's done by hand. And it was all acquired. Like, I had a smaller CNC, and then last year I spent about $100,000 in new equipment to keep up with manufacturing stuff. So it's just been a slow process of like gathering, because it's expensive. Like this equipment's not cheap. So
let's talk about this for people just dropping into the conversation. All month we've been talking about state of the industry, and Josh from Modern Meeple is on board because we're talking about making things in the United States. So the very first thing, if people are interested, if you think now is the opportunity for you to make gaming stuff, the very first thing you should think about is, do you have a skill that transfers easily into something that people want to buy? And Josh can make apparently anything. If you can make a giant pickleball paddle for television or props or whatever, you can make like, it's a racket. I'm sorry, it's not a paddle, but
It's a paddle. For pickleball, it's called a paddle. Tennis, it's called a racket. So you were right.
Does it have strings? Yeah. Does the pickleball one have strings?
It does not have strings.
Okay, so it's like ping pong, but like the table is like court sized.
Yeah, the pickleball paddle is probably 3 times the size of a ping pong paddle. The pickleball court is, I believe it's a quarter the size of a tennis court. Yeah,
I've seen them. They're tiny, and so, but it's big enough that people need fake props. Was this thing like
Yeah.
the size of you, Josh?
Yeah,
Like,
it was pretty big. Yeah, it was for HubSpot, and I don't know why they used it, but I normally don't know why they want these things. It's, for like marketing. It's all for marketing, mostly all this stuff. I mean, I've turned vans into big pigs with, money blowing around in the inside of it, so it's usually a marketing thing.
So is your skill to imagine these things, or is your skill, if you can imagine it, I can build it, Josh?
It's a mixture of both. I would say most of the companies have an idea what they want, but I have to, because they don't know the capabilities, and most people don't know that these things can be made. So I have to sort of pry it out of them, and I always say the only thing that stops something from me from making something is your budget and the law, and other than that I can make it. So.
Now you've gotten back to Uga Chaka, who says, I'm disappointed that no one else is trying to make Seppi uncomfortable. Good job, Josh. You made me uncomfortable. The only thing is your budget and the law, which seems to be really about the state of the nation right now. It is about budgets, and it is about how people are using the laws. So that is incredible. Your skill, being able to help people bring their imagination to life, is even more so. And identifying that skill, like what you can make here in the United States, really starts with that. Then there is proving that may have a business model. You had people looking to want things from you anyway. But then there's this component of what machines facilitate us being able to make a usable or sellable product. Like before Etsy got turned into a big, selling something, it used to be the Etsy model where people were handcrafting things and selling on that platform. And so you'd see a lot of things that are using lasers, lots of things that are using CNC machines, like custom objects that are made here in the United States. You see, of course, a lot for gaming, people making handmade dice, people are making handmade dice into its own art form. And you are like, hey, there are other things that people need for the gaming experience that I have all the stuff for, or I would like to have the stuff for, and to make that happen.
Yeah. So, I definitely, it started out on, a much smaller scale. But I had the ability to, at least get something that was functional and I could, present to my friends, and they were like, this is great. And then, as sales started coming in and it got more popular, it came to the point where I was like, I can't, I used to, first, the logos on the edge of the Susans were lasered in, and it was like a brown. Do you
have one handy? Can you bring when you say Susan so everybody can see?
Yeah,
because your things are spectacular, Josh. We should not have to have people imagine what you make. They should see out the fantastic thing that you make.
So, here, this is a mini version, and if you notice. This logo right here. So this logo, so that used to be lasered in and was sort of brown, and it didn't stand out very much. And I wanted it to really stand out. So what I did was I lasered in like a trough, so to speak. It was depth, and I filled it with white powder coat, and then I would heat it with a heat gun, and it would melt the powder coat, and it would look nice and white. But it took forever for me to do. It was, for probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes to do each one. But when you have, 30 orders, it's just not sustainable. So, then I invested in a pad printer, and if anybody knows how much those cost, I don't know. I'm in the wrong business I need to start making pad printers, because those things, they're very expensive
They are very expensive. So if I was going to help people make modern gaming things, the things that, people should look at that are major investment. One of those is the pad printer. You can print on a lot of different things. You can print on acrylic, our original partner at Fight in a Box ended up doing a company called Muse on Minis, and they ended up making our first sort of made in the United States handmade objects. And so those are like our acrylic version of Scroll or Die, which required a pad printer and a laser cutter. Then, of course, the all wood Scroll or Dies, which were all like laser etched. And so for the one, what is the material that the trays are made out of, Josh? Is that all wood or is it plastic?
No, it's all wood. There's a resin binder in it that's dyed, which gives it its color. But it's all recycled wood or scraps or stuff that's not suitable to be used to, like, you know, make a home or sheets of plywood or whatever. It's all ground up. Yeah. So I'm not sure the camera will pick it up, but if you notice, there's like, see the little flecks in there?
Oh, it's like particle board.
Well, what that is that's so because there's all different kinds of wood mixed in. It's all recycled. Some of the wood doesn't take the dye, and that's what gives it that little speckly look to it.
And that's great. I love that, Josh. I love that.
Yeah.
Do you have to custom order the wood to be bound in that color, or did it already have those colors and you're like, oh yeah, hook me up?
Yeah. So all this wood is sort of proprietary to us. Which is another reason why I didn't want to have it manufactured overseas. Is I didn't want to give them the material, like, here, make this for me. And how the material is made is it's actually, I don't know if you've ever seen insulation. It's really thick, like an insulation.
Oh,
and then
wow.
it's pressed down to thin, and that's what makes it so. Because a lot of people, when you touch it, it has like the sound and sort of a similar feel to plastic because it's so dense, but it's not. It's all wood. It's organic dyes. It's recycled stuff, so it's much better than plastic. For the environment, which is great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you made a proprietary, like, hey, this is the way we are going to take wood scraps, turn it into this color-based wood to then feed into your process.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing, Josh. Every time I talk to you, like, your level of genius goes up each time, Josh.
And it's a big thing we fight. Like, a lot of people think our stuff's 3D printed, and I've been trying to fight that for a while. And we have, there's people out there that are copying what we're doing and 3D printing it, which we're going to soon try to put an end to. But so having people make stuff that's almost identical as 3D printed and people not seeing it think it's 3D printed, and it's one of the biggest battles we have.
Well, one of those is environmental, and the other one is not. Like, distinctly not. Like, I love me some 3D printing, but oh boy, not environmentally. That is an amazing thing.
And it'd be heavy. Like, 3D printing, like one of these, it would be so heavy, and it'd probably take several days to 3D print one of those.
But that's bad that they should not, like, just flat out rip off somebody else's idea and go for that. That's not good. But the idea of seeing a need and innovation and what can I make at home is at the core of necessity is the mother of invention. What can I make now? And you started that yourself. You're like, oh, I see this, like, there's got to be a better way to organize these bits.
For sure. The first day I sat down and played games, I was like, what are we doing here? Like, isn't there a thing that we can put this, like, why are we all reaching and asking? And they're like, oh, this is just how it works. And, and you should make something. So I was like, all right, I will. And then I did, and it just snowballed into this.
Was it was it a bit of OCD? Was it just like, I just can't have all this mess? Like, what was the driving, burning emotion that drove you to do this?
Yeah, I think because I wasn't in the game. I've never been in the gaming space. I didn't play games since I was a kid. I didn't know this world existed, and I was just so I was just so awed by seeing all these games, and then I was playing some of them, and I think I was just so excited to I want to take my turn. I want to go. Like I want to get this going, that the waiting for people to ask to get their piece, or like, what's on this card? What does this red piece do? I was like, this can't be how everybody does this. It was just seemed too cumbersome. And I just naively was like, why are you guys playing like this? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Are you familiar with the game called Kingdom Death Monster?
No.
Okay. Kingdom Death Monster is insane. If you bought all the pieces to the full version of the game, like not the starter box, the starter box is $500, but the full box of everything now is up to $7,500.
Wow.
That game requires not only you figuring out your table space, but if you're having a 4-player game of it, everybody needs to have a responsibility. One person is setting up the deck. The other person is cleaning up or setting up the environment. This person's getting the equipment ready. Like, if you want to be able to play a lot of scenarios for that game in an evening, you need to give out roles for each person, and it physically has all these things that person needs to organize. That is how fiddly this game is.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So when you say, hey, I'm going to get organized, I'm waiting for my turn, that is immediately the experience that I go to think to. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, so everybody, welcome to the Board Game Live. We're talking about industry topics, and today's industry topic is state of the industry from a manufacturer's point of view. Josh is from Modern Meeple. He makes exquisite, parts trays and lazy Susans for board games. And we're talking about the skills that you need and the machines that you might need to be able to execute your ideas.
Yes.
Josh, what is your advice? What are some of the never do's or people that you've been swimming in this space so long, try to if somebody asks, hey, Josh, if I wanted to do what you do, what would what is some of your early advice that you would have for people? Because you make things like custom objects, but then you're also now making these own, with your proprietary wood and all this other kinds of stuff, which is great, by the way. That was going to be one of my touching points. If you want to manufacture something in the United States, doing that with a sustainability model where you're either salvaging plastic from environments that are not getting recycled, like plastic bags is a perfect example of that, that kind of thing, or creating your own proprietary method for green and recycled materials is also a great way to get started. But go on, Josh.
I think you have to, first of all, you have to be willing to, you got to have the time and be willing to fail. And people, a lot of people they still tell me, they're like, I don't know why you don't have someone overseas manufacture this stuff for you. And I just trusted my gut, and I was like, I want to have control. I want to be able to, make one of something or 10,000 of something. I've been trying to leverage that in what we're doing. And you just go. If you believe you can do it, you just have to go for it. I was fortunate enough to have some of this equipment to start the process and get the ball rolling, and to sort of test it out. And that, as the ball was rolling, then I was like, I got to get bigger machines and more stuff. And you got to be, I just spent $100,000 last year. You just have to be willing to commit to it. You can't half anything. You're either all in or you're not. So the first thing is committing to the process.
Yeah. Andy from Dodeca Donuts, I think, would agree. Andy was like, hey, I'm making these fun dice trays out of donuts.
Yes, those are really cool.
they're really cool. And like, hey, it's super high end. I'm doing this. And he was like, hey, I handcrafted X number of these to first prove that there was a market for it or to build an environment or a market around it. Like when you say commit to it, the steps for commitment are first, have an idea. Second is create the actual thing so it can be tested and get feedback on it. And that really applies to board games as well. And number three, then see if that's replicable. Like if you can do it and how long it takes. Like these are the first three steps for making anything. Which is, hey, I want to make a thing. Can I make a thing? How long did that thing take? And how often can I do it? And if you want to be a game designer, right? If you want to be a game designer, obviously you are game designing either hopefully multiple games again and again. But if you're going to make a physical object, even things for games, you probably want to do other things or make the same thing like multiple times. And thinking about how your efforts can be scaled or repeated is essential for being a manufacturer in the United States.
Yeah. So I can touch on some of those things. As far as I said before, it's like I'm sort of a perfectionist. I want anything to be perfect, and I had to like stop thinking. I had like because at first I wanted the white writing on the edge of the product. I wanted certain things, but I had to be like, it doesn't have to be perfect. I can always make it better. So, and I did that, and I've done some changes. These dice throne trays, this is probably the fourth design. I've changed it 4 times to get it to where it is today. The first one I brought to my friends and they were like, this is not it, So I was like, perfect, which is what I want. I was like, just tell me, don't be nice to me. I want, whatever, which is fine. So I had to just make and just trust the process. It's not going to be perfect your first time. And then as far as, I still have this machine, but the machine I first started with, I have to change the bits out every time. So what a CNC does is it cuts out however you program it. It uses a bit, but some bits have roundovers, like this tray, there's a 1/2 inch bit to cut this out. There's an 1/8 inch bit to do this. There's a roundover in here. So that's a 1/4 inch roundover bit to do that. There's a 1/4 inch bit to cut this out. So there's probably 5 or 6 different bits to cut out this tray. With the machine I had before, it would stop. I'd have to put in the new bit, zero the machine out, run a separate program. And I was taking notes of like how long it took me to make each single thing. So you want to know what you're like, how many things you can make in a day. So then when it came to, I just can't make these things fast enough. I need to buy a bigger machine. Now I already have the information of what I need. So I needed a machine that instead of me replacing the bits, it has a rack in the back that has 15 already set up and it just grabs the next one it needs. So the machine never stops, which saves a dramatic amount of time. So basically,
babysitting machines. So much of you starting out, you cannot be underestimated. If you're thinking about home industry, and let's call that home industry. Yours was never a home industry. You had a workshop, but home industry starts with you babysitting your machines, and any step about you interacting with it or the process getting delayed because you were off, like taking care of your kids or getting coffee, whatever it is also a factor of the time. But keep on going, Josh.
For sure. And the more you know your machine, the more you can say, all right, instead of me doing a 90-degree angle on this, if I can just make it an 1/8 inch roundover, it might save you 5 seconds on every corner. And then by the time the machine's done, you just save yourself 20. And then every process is 20 minutes. But when I grew out of that machine, I knew I needed something that could change the tools automatically. And I needed something that was more rigid, that the whole gantry could move faster. So now I can make things 4 times faster. I 4x my output by adding this new machine. and I don't have to tend to it now. I just let it run when it stops. So now while that machine's running, I can be putting parts in the laser, putting logos on it. So now I got two machines running at the same time. So you got to think of how can I take me out of the equation and let the machines be all running, and I'm just setting stuff up. So
and how much is that worth? Like
Yes.
how much, like, this is all time that you can spend in your business, or time you can spend starting your business. It needs to be monetized. You shouldn't only think Josh's specialty wood costs him this much money, and then that means I'm selling it for this. That so degrades all the things that go into what you're doing. Like, those machines, take spin up time. Those machines take maintenance. Those machines need a space to be in. All these things, and that all factors into like what the final thing ends up costing. But in Josh's testing, he's also trying to figure out like what would the market pay for a high-end, like eco-friendly, domestically made, like high-end game product.
Yeah, and I did this backwards too. Is a lot of people like, you're not charging enough. You're not, because I asked, how much should I sell this for? And people were like, how long does it take you? And they wanted to take my time and multiply it and yada, yada. And I didn't feel like that was a fair assessment, because at the time I started, I know I could make these could be made faster. So judging that off that time, I feel like wasn't fair. And I also I don't want to price people out of having these things. Like, my stuff I'm not up where like Wormwood is, and I'm not down, where, like the Etsy, 3D printing stuff is. I wanted something that people could feel like was worthy of the price. It felt premium, because it is premium. It's all made by hand, but I just couldn't charge, $500 for something. It just didn't make sense.
All right, so you had used the W word, and that is another thing that, like Wormwood it constructs their tables, dice towers, trays, all those things are hand manufactured, more or less here not here, but up in the New England,
Massachusetts.
That's all that stuff is up in that area. Conversely, on the other side of the country, you have Heart of the Deernicorn does as much of the printing for their games by hand, like silk screen and other like press kinds of stuff, in their workshop. And, and is also a place where they employ a lot of like, wayward youth who are trying to like have a better life, who are like trans or non-binary, all the kinds of stuff. They have a great suit. Ross is amazing. He believes in like giving opportunity to folks, but it's like, okay, this handcrafted like premium object have a super high price tag, because you're employing, American labor to do these kinds of things. But, Josh, it sounds like to me that you've taken the German model, which is, I have a trade skill, and if I have enough machines, I can make this, like still premium object, like an approachable enough, price point, and make it all here in the United States.
Yeah. Like, I knew, when I first started, I was losing money, and I knew that, but I also knew that if I can make these fast enough, get the demand and output them quick enough, then I can, my margins will start growing. And I just rolled with that, I'm like, cause I remember I'm like, I'm not making any money off this. I'm not getting, and what a lot of people don't think is which is also frustrating, but I understand why they don't think about the box you have to put it in, the wrapping on stuff, a box, a plain brown box is $3. That's not the tape. That's not the packaging inside of it. So by the time I shipped,
And it's your time to fold it. You also have to put it together.
Like, all flat. Yep.
Yeah, they're all flat. So it is one sheet cut of cardboard that you then have to assemble, and it's still $3.
Correct. It's crazy. So that's, you also have to factor that in. So I'm like, oh, if I order more boxes, whatever, then again your margins go up. But now you're fighting, where do you put this pallet of boxes that you're hoping to sell these items? But I believe in my product. I believe that people will like it. I've yet to have a single person return anything I've sold. So I'm just rolling with it, and I'm hopefully it'll gain enough traction to where, I can do this full time and leave the making custom stuff for people, and spend more time with my daughter is ultimately the
I like to remind people that, I hate to use the A word, but Amazon went 11 plus years before it made one cent. And they were just perfecting their business model and building an audience. Like, can this work? And so forth and whatnot. Like, the amount of chutzpah and capital that was built, burned through to make that happen is a real thing. Believing in what you're doing and building an audience and improving along the way is really the entrepreneurial spirit. And again, if you are interested in making something, working on your essential trade skill and then, proving out that people want to buy it and building an audience around it is really the core loop that you're going around again and again and again and again and again. So, how many shows are you doing now, Josh?
I'm only doing 2. I'm trying to. I've been trying to get in a Gen Con. That hasn't been very successful. I do PAX East and PAX Unplugged. I'd like to do more shows, but I don't know which ones to do. I was supposed to do the one in Louisville there, Gamma, but I registered it was too late for me to do it. It's just me. I need more help to manage this stuff.
That was going to be my next question. How much help do you have, Josh?
I very little. I have, not enough. I have, friends my friends always help me, work the booth and stuff. They always chip in. They've been super awesome. I don't have any help manufacturing or day to day. It's just I can't ask, a friend of mine who has a full-time job to ship out a few items every day, it doesn't make any sense. So I am working on, I just hired someone to help me with marketing. Cause I don't get it. It's way, I don't understand it. It's too much.
All right. You hit a very important part. For folks who are interested in doing anything in and around gaming, for every hour that you spend making a thing, you should spend 1 hour promoting or marketing that thing. That is just flat out. If you do that, you will be way more successful at finally getting it to a place to sell. And understanding what that looks like from that can include going to shows. It can include interacting with your newsletter, your mail list, so forth and whatnot. All right. So marketing obviously has changed a lot. When I was an adult, Josh, I was VP of marketing for software development companies way back in the day.
Okay.
But understanding where media is now and how people are consuming it takes somebody who is actively participating in it to understand that there's been a massive change in media and marketing just in the last 6 months, right? Everything that's going on, people feel like they need to be both tuned into it because there's a new fire every day, but simultaneously they're disgusted by it. And they don't want to do that. Like, being a community manager can be, it takes a certain kind of like internal wherewithal to be able to like go out there on in the wastelands of the internet and help people like discover joy without all this other stuff weighing you down. So you should feel good, Josh. You're like recognizing like this is a skill and
yeah, there just has to be a certain point where, like making everything and programming and knowing how to run the machines. And it's just, I can't, I have to recognize that I can't do everything. Like I'd love to, sit behind the computer and run ads and stuff, but it's just, you've got Reddit and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, and it's just so many different platforms that, YouTube, like I would love to make videos, it's like setting up the games and stuff, but I got to take some weight off me in other ways. But it's, again, that comes into money coming in and all that stuff. So like, I'm fortunate that with the little marketing that I've done, the stuff sells and it's worth doing and continuing and spending $100,000 in machinery. So it also makes you saying that for every hour, I should have an equal hour of marketing or whatever. Not doing that makes me excited that as soon as that gets implemented, then the sales, if the trend is right, it's going to be awesome. So I'm excited for that. And I've come to reality that I can't do everything and it is what it is, Well,
you're a parent too, like, and yes. You have a whole other business, like the source of like brilliant people brilliant people plus me end up in gaming, and they're multi-talented people like you who are like, I sort of love it here, and like what people have got going on. I can use all these skills, I can do all these things, but understanding that you shouldn't do everything is also one of those things that people eventually have to make. Like, if you want your business to grow, you eventually will hit to a point where you are the thing that is keeping your business from growing.
Yeah,
which is very weird because your business doesn't exist or grow at all until you get there. But then there's a certain point you're like, I am the limiter. I am this thing that is keeping us from our full potential. And, just like humans have always done in our development, specialized labor, understanding what the environment needs.
Yes. Yeah. It's very true. So I'm on that path of realizing that I'm limiting. I'm at my peak output of getting this here. Now I need to start adding people to the team to make it even bigger. And the show. That's another. We
had a very interesting question in the chat. Can you see that one from Alex T? Do you want to read it?
Can I open a biz identity in the U.S. but manufacture, store, and distribute my games only in Europe? You could for sure.
Yeah. You could create a business entity that's the United States. All of those, if you want to make this your country of origin, the United States your country of origin for it, you can manufacture it and whatever. There's some weird, like, registering for taxes in all those places that gets wildly complicated in the EU. It might be easier to register it as like a French company instead, but that gets really, really, really complicated. You could certainly do it. Should you do it is the question. Since we're talking about today's topic, which is manufacturing game and game accessories in the United States, state of the industry, what is considered like made in a certain country? The number for that percentage is, do you know what percentage that is, Josh? Like, how much of that thing needs to be made in that country for it to be claimed to be made in that country?
I don't know that answer.
Oh, come on, Josh. You're very smart. Give me a guess.
10%.
Oh, Oh, see, Josh, you are smart. Like most people would say, it's got to be at least 50%. No, it is 30%. And what that 30% is up to is very loosey-goosey for people. Like 30% could be 30% of the total cost of it being assembled and put together, right? Like if you have all your parts made someplace else and the parts like individual prices are not monetized, like you can't sell that other kinds of stuff. So the total cost of the thing is actually your US labor. Getting to that 30% is surprisingly easy here in the US. So you can have these, I don't think from a sustainability method, like porting things around from the planet and grabbing them from other places isn't like great for the sustainability model. Like, well, so another amazing thing about what you're doing, Josh, is taking these materials, making them here in the United States, using them, to promote good. But like grabbing these from everywhere and then saying it's made in the US only requires 30% of the total cost of manufacturing to be the United States.
Yeah, so it's easy to, I guess manipulate and fudge the numbers and whatever.
Yeah.
But
it's so loosey-goosey. Like you might fudge the numbers not even intentionally. Yeah. Like, what does that 30% mean? Like, you're like, how much of your stuff is made in the United States, Josh?
So the only thing that's not is the plastic base that spins that goes underneath this. So this part here, like I don't make this.
Neat.
Yeah. So that these we do get from China. I used to get them in the United States. They were $9 a piece.
Whoa.
Yeah. And that comes when I told you, I was like, when I started, I wasn't it cost me a lot to make these. And then I had to figure out how to make it less expensive. And this was a huge part of it. But if people, if you're trying to get stuff manufactured, they always have what's called an MOQ, which is a minimum order quantity. So for me to get these for $2 a piece, I had to buy 2,000 of them. So now I have to spend, $4,000 for the product, then, shipping, and then, like they have the import tariffs and stuff. It adds up. So, but as far as, some of our stuffs don't have the plastic base on it. So it's fine. But also like what I've been trying to do is because a lot of stores have asked retail. They want to be able to sell this in their game store, sell our stuff in the game store. But I don't have boxes.
I was going to say, I was like, does that include the packaging? And you're like, no.
Yeah. So I have boxes to ship it. Like when you order something from me, like you order one of these minis, it comes in like a nice colorful poly bag, and it's in a box, and it's like the paper around is protected, and you get it. And, I have labeled tape. But it's not in like a box that you pull off a shelf in a store. So if I want to sell in a store, it's got to be in some sort of box. Like they can't just sit on the shelf all willy nilly. So there's two, and I'm trying to keep everything in the U.S. Like our CNCs are made in the United States, all that stuff. So there's so the CNC I use, it's got a huge made in the USA on it. Is it 30% or 90% made? I don't know. It's made in, I think, Minnesota. So it was shipped from like Minnesota. The company's in the United States.
Yeah.
But there's a box company that's a half hour from me they make retail boxes, but it's not the look that I wanted. So, and it's much, and I've priced boxes having made in Japan, and it's the cost difference is crazy. So you just fight, like, do I want to pay more money for something that doesn't look the way I want it to? Or do I want to pay less money for something that looks the way I want to and have it made not in the United States? So like, I'm fighting that battle
And
too.
packaging is so weird. It's a temporary thing, but it's so much of like, how does this sell itself? It's such a big deal. Like, how does it present in a retail environment has everything to do with the packaging.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm heavily thinking, because I want, it's a premium product. I want the box to be premium. And like you said, I want the experience. I want people to save the box. Like if they're ever going to a friend's house, like I still get
their computer and their computer monitor and maybe their TV. You're going to save that box in case you need to move that thing. You want them to save the box.
Correct. Okay. So, I'm having that internal battle right now of what I want to do. And I can, if you want, I can elaborate how those are made and what the costs are, or we can move on.
Yeah, let's just talk about it. Like, this is a thing that people might not think about. And you are committed to manufacturing in the United States, but still that you have to have this question, right? And so take me through the box.
Okay, so the in the United States that I found, there might be someone out there, but they basically have these pallets of just sheets of cardboard. And when you get a box made, you give them your product. You tell them like I wanted mine double walled for cardboard for like protection, and I want it to fold so that I don't have to, like you said, I'd rather fold the box together than tape the bottoms and tape the sides and then get a box and put the stuff in it. Like I wanted to just fold up, I put the thing in it and it closes. So you go through all that. And this company they have a machine that it basically has a knife and it cuts out and you get demos of it. But when you okay a box, now what you have to pay for is it's basically a big stamp with knives on it that it's on a roll, and just the sheets go through and a roller just cuts out, all the sides off and whatever. And they just spit them out. So what you have to do is you have to pay for that die. So that die is several $1,000s before you even do anything. And then you have, again, what I talked about before, minimum order quantity, which is an MOQ, is you have to order so many to make it worth, do I want to buy a standard box at Uline for $3, or do I want to have my own custom box made, for $2, but I have to order 3,000 of them,
And so, you use the U word. Like, those folks are evil.
They're like, the box, they're only $1.50 a box, but it's $900 to ship it to you, It's like, it's the worst, whatever. And it's got their logos all over it. It feels, to me, it's like, it feels so cheap, but you have, you got to start somewhere, and whatever, it is what it is. That's what I found here, but they can't, you can get the whole box printed, but you still see the corrugated box on all the outlines of it, so it's not like a board game box where the graphic is folded over and you don't see any lines. In China, you don't have to pay for molds and you tell them, this is the box I need it to fit this. And they're like $1.15 a box. And they just make it so easy, and it's less expensive. So it's hard to, and it looks better. And so it's hard. So you fight that. Like, is it more important for me to have it made in the USA, or to have it, save some money and have it made here? And I don't think, I think everybody wants everything made in the USA, but they don't want to pay for the made in the USA, which is, I'm sure it's just a battle you fight.
Yeah, it's a battlefield. You've got to make these choices with the idea, if things are successful, then you can make other choices later. Like, getting stuck or not believing in what you're doing are probably the two biggest, why did this, why did progress stop? Well, I got stuck on this loop, this question that I just could not get past. Well, sometimes you make short-term or medium-term decisions so that you can prove whether or not you can get to your long-term choices. And the question is, do you have enough runway to make that happen? And that's across any level of stuff what board games are doing. Well, PAX East is coming up. That's very exciting for you. Do you have your booth number, Josh? We're in the. I know you have a hard stop in 7 minutes, so I'm like, well, let's start by doing the pitches. Like, what's your booth number? What do you have for people that's available? How do they find you?
So I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what my booth number is. No clue. So I don't know, but it's PAX East is a small alley for board gamers. So you'll definitely, I'm sure you'll find me. I'm going to have, again, another, which I'm very fortunate. I make a booth every show. I make a new booth, and it's going to be bright and colorful like it was at PAX Unplugged. So
what do you do with the old ones, Josh? Do you recycle them? What do you do?
I just like I said, I'm a perfectionist. And I'm like, oh, people have already seen this, and like I just throw it away or get rid of it or whatever. I don't know.
Well, Josh, you should understand that you have you figure out what your premiere show is, like PAX Unplugged. That gets the new booth, and then that booth goes then to PAX East next year, and then you have a new booth for PAX Unplugged, and then they keep on shifting down for Gen Con to these other places. And
well, the problem is with Unplugged is half the cost of PAX East. So I get a 10x20 at PAX Unplugged, and I get a 10x10 at PAX East because it's twice as expensive. So if I could use my booth is, I don't know if you remember seeing you were sick and had no voice at PAX Unplugged.
Thank you for remembering.
Yeah. Because I was like, I'm going to go see Seppi. And then you're like, I can't talk. And I'm like, oh, man.
I'm so sorry, Josh, but thank you for remembering. Yeah, the struggle was real.
Yeah, so I wish I could use my booth. You know, it's just too big and long and whatever. So I'm just going to make another one. So
that makes sense. PAX East is obviously a computer game convention that has board gaming in it. It's also in Boston, which makes the cost a lot more money. PAX East is an expensive show to make work, but it is in your backyard. So
yeah. It's the first year I went to PAX East, it wasn't worth. I was like, this isn't worth it, but I wasn't going to go the next year, but I'm like, it'd be dumb for you not to go. It's an hour away from me, and then I crushed the next year. So that's another thing. Like you can't just take one thing and like that's the be all. You need more data. And one of the great benefits about manufacturing on your own, which I think is so valuable, is I've made products just because people have come to the booth and said, you should do this. And I'm like, I'll try it. And I'll send it to them and they'll be like, this is great. And then I'll make the thing. I've had customers, when Quacks had the expansion with the extra thing, the card didn't fit in one of our trays. So I was like, how about I'll make you a tray that has a wider slot so it'll fit both cards and you can put, the black and the white on either side and then can hold the whole game. And they were ecstatic, So if I manufacture this stuff in China or somewhere else, like I can't say, hey, make me one tray, So the possibilities of doing that is great. And I feel like that's really valuable, and which is why I haven't outsourced the stuff. I'm just living in this world. I'm making the things, and I think
your joy is to make the things. Obviously, you're good at it. Game E is lucky to have you, Josh. I'm glad that you came in our direction to show your genius. Giant pickleball paddle or no?
I appreciate it.
All right. Since we have a hard stop, because I promised you, what are your last thoughts in and around sort of people who wanted to get started doing a thing like domestically?
I think it's important to first you got to prove of concept. Don't worry about making something here if you don't have anything to make. So solving a problem is the necessity of invention. Once you do that, then you can either ask, like if someone wants, and I've done this for people, like I've made, there's some people that have made like board games. They want a prototype, and I was like, "Tell me what you want for pieces. I'll make you little frogs or whatever you want. Like I can cut them on the laser easily. Whatever." So I'm just trying to help people. Like you could talk to someone that makes stuff, and then I'm happy to say, "Hey, you could do this for X amount if you got this machine or whatever." But I think the hard part is, and I found this trying to get boxes made, is that most companies like Long Pack or whatever, they want to make everything. They don't want to make just the box. They don't want to make just the little meeples. They want to make the whole thing. Being able to do all those things are going to be difficult. But if you have a product or a dice tower or some invention or whatever, doing some research, asking somebody, Stonemeyer or whatever, you that have some knowledge on this, would be a great step. And everyone's nice. I'm sure they'll give you free advice and like, hey, this is what I would do,
All right. That's amazing. My advice on the topic is doubling down on what Josh says. Gaming wants you to succeed. Make sure you prove or get your idea in front of enough people so that you know that it's viable. Too many people who start in gaming go, I have this great idea. I don't want to tell anybody about it. Well, that's the exact opposite. Like if you have this great thing, you have to tell everybody about it and see if it works. All right, Josh, thank you so much. I know we had a hard stop. I was supposed to go to PAX East. I would have loved to see you. So maybe I'll get to see you at PAX Unplugged this year. Hopefully I'll have some sort of voice. All right, anything else? Say goodbye, Josh.
Goodbye. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. And thank you, Seppi, for having me on.
Josh, you're a brilliant guest, and the more I get to interact with you, the more that I like you and believe in what you're doing. All right, everybody. Next month, we are talking about game design all month, and my first guest is going to be John from Terrible Games. And we also have Becky lined up. I think the third week I'm going to be at ACD, so we're not that. And maybe the fourth one will be Jared. We're going to just discuss the nature of game design and going through your own process. So everybody, remember, joy is a protest, and stay safe and have fun. Bye, everybody.